Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be looking at 3 ways that you can connect to yourself and love yourself more deeply, because I know that so many people who are going through burnout start to disconnect from themselves and not know how to give themselves the love that they need. So we're going to talk about that right now. Let's go. So I know that loving yourself can be a little bit hard, especially when you've got the constant comparison of social media, you know, other people's highlight reels of their lives, or you've got the negative voices that are just rolling around in your head saying, you know, am I good enough? Will I ever be good enough? Is this enough? Am I enough? This constant kind of worry of like, am I doing enough and pushing enough? And then also our past traumas, you know, the past situations or experiences that we've been through that potentially we haven't dealt with, potentially we are putting into little compartments everywhere and only looking at certain times. And all of these things can cause us to fragment and not actually love ourselves as deeply as we should or could. So I really want to talk to you about my kind of 3 top learnings as I've gone through this process of moving from depression to being in a much more stable, happy place with my life, moving from burnout to a place where I'm running a business which I absolutely love and is, you know, successful and gives me everything that I need. I want to just share these things with you because these were all individual things that I learned over a period of time, and when I started to bring them all together, it really started to make a difference. And when I actually got COVID in the beginning of 2022, I didn't realize how important my routines were to me until I couldn't do them anymore, and how much it affected my mental health and took me back to that place of thinking like, I have to do more, I have to try be more. And it was really interesting to actually just be able to take a step back out of that moment and say, actually, this is what leads me into a bad place. So I want to share how I was able to go through those processes and what I've put in place so that you can try it as well and see what works for you. Okay, so let's talk about the 3 things that really made a difference for me. So the first one was around how I talk to myself and the thoughts that I let develop in my mind. Something to understand is that we are not able to control the actual thought that arises. So I might see something and have a thought that is negative, or I might not get a result that I want and the initial thought might be negative. I can't stop that thought from coming up, but what I can do is I can look at how I proceed with that thought. One of the really kind of big things, I kind of always remember this as a 3-step process. The first thing is I need to notice the thought that's come up. And I need to be able to notice if it is a good thought that is helping me, or if it is a negative thought that's actually causing me to not take action or feel bad about myself. Once I have actually noticed, I then have the decision of whether I want to stop that thought from progressing. And this is a really important distinction, because sometimes we have a thought and actually we just want to feel the feeling and we don't want to stop it, we just want to let it kind of run. That's okay if you feel like that's what you need to do. But when you have a repetitive thought that's not helpful, it's really important that you can stop it in your tracks. If you use somebody like Mel Robbins, like she has this concept in her High 5 Habit book of literally telling yourself, like mentally and out loud, like I'm not thinking about that right now. And that is super powerful, because you can stop your brain in its tracks and say, actually, I'm not having this conversation, I'm not thinking about this, I'm not letting myself go down this path. And then a really, really easy thing to do is to try and reframe and reach for something better. Notice the thought, stop the thought, and then reach for a better thought. If, say for instance, you are thinking, I'm not getting the result that I want, like I did all of this work and I'm not getting the result that I want, it's very easy for that to spiral into you making it mean something about you. So you might say, I didn't get the result that I want, that must mean that I am not good enough, I don't know what I'm doing. And actually what I want you to do is just think to yourself, okay, that's not a helpful thought, I'm going to stop that thought, and what I'm going to tell myself instead is, I'm on a learning journey. I am getting better each time I practice this. I am showing up and persisting, and that is good enough today. And it's really about just repositioning the negative thought and saying, actually, I am worthy of loving myself unconditionally. I am worthy of loving myself on the journey. I am worthy of loving myself regardless of the outcome, regardless of what other people think, regardless of how I measure up to, you know, other people's social media or whatever it is that you're looking at. And just actually saying, like, I'm allowed to be learning, I'm allowed to be on this journey, and that is okay. Because that is a really, really powerful shift in stopping the negative thought from spiraling out of control. So that's your first idea. Stop the negative thought, notice it, stop it, and then reframe it and reach for something better. Is a really, really important way of doing things. The second thing kind of leads on from this, and this is about starting to reinforce positive conversations. Now, something that I have started to do over the last couple of years, and when I first heard it, I thought it was a little bit crazy, but I read it in multiple different places. So a lot of people who work in the space of personal development were talking about this idea of the conversation you have with yourself. And one of the things that I started to do is in the morning when I wake up, whether it's while I'm brushing my teeth or, you know, while I'm brushing my hair in the mirror, or even sometimes I'll just stand and look at myself in the mirror, and I'll actually look at myself in my eyes and just say good morning to myself and say, you know, today's gonna be a good day. You can put in whatever you need to hear. If it is about your self-worth, you might say, you're an amazing person, you're beautiful, and you could give yourself like a compliment. If it is about, you know, maybe your burnout, you could say something like, good morning, you are so worthy of rest. How are you going to rest today? If it is to do with your business, you might say, today's a great day to earn money. And you can say anything that you want to yourself in that mirror. That is like your private 2 minutes with yourself. And if you know anything about healing, this kind of inner child work, like just connecting with yourself, your inner child, and telling them what they need to hear, it's so powerful to just give yourself that affection, to just give yourself that moment of clarity and saying, actually, I am worthy of this love and affection. I am worthy of having a great day. I am worthy of taking the rest that I need. I'm worthy of earning the money in my business. And you get to give that to yourself. You don't have to wait for other people to positively reinforce your life. You get to do it for yourself. And I think that that is so powerful. So the more that you stop the negative thoughts throughout the day and then reinforce your mornings with this positive practice, I call it a positive personal conversation, which is just so amazing. It changes the complete dynamic of how you're starting your day, and it makes it so much easier to then reframe those negative thoughts throughout the day. So just taking a moment and really just ask yourself, when was the last time that you actually looked in the mirror and you weren't looking at the makeup or you were applying, or your hair that you were brushing, or your teeth that you were brushing? When did you actually just look in a mirror and look in your own eyes and just connect with yourself and just tell yourself that you're doing a damn good job? Because it's so important to do that. So going on this process, making sure that you are managing your negative thoughts, that you are having positive personal conversations with yourself. And then the third thing about self-love is, if you don't schedule it in, it will never happen. So actually having a routine is really important. And one of my favorite things is start small, okay? Start small, because if you try and make this too big, you're never gonna do it. So start small, like give yourself half an hour a week, and then when you're in a good place in a place of motivation, in a place that feels nice, make a list of all of the types of things you would love to do in your downtime. So this might be a bit of meditation or a puzzle or going for a walk or going for a swim. These are all the things in my world. Doing some yoga. It might be something completely different. Maybe you want to do crossword puzzles, or you want to read a book, or you want to bake something. Like, just make a whole list of things that you've always wanted to try, new hobbies, whatever it is. And then in the moment when you give yourself that half an hour, ask yourself, look at the list and ask yourself, what feels super nourishing today? What feels so good today for me? And that's going to be your favorite question. And you want to start by doing this, once a week. Start small, but be regular. So say, every Monday I give myself half an hour at X time to do something that is just solely for me. And then you can up that to twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. And you start to build in this habit of self-care and self-love. Because again, if you don't look after yourself, nobody else is going to. So we can't wait for other people. This concept of you can only pour from a full cup, it's a bit cliche, but it is so true. And when we are burnt out, we can't be a support system for other people. A lot of people burn themselves out trying to be everything for everyone, and it's really important that you start to put yourself as a priority on your list. You start to say, actually, this is something that I need to focus on, and that is okay. Focusing on me is okay. And you can cycle through these. So when you give yourself that alone time, when you give yourself that time to focus on yourself, be aware of the negative thoughts that come up. Be aware of you derailing that time with an overactive mind. And go through that process, notice it, be really kind, stop the thoughts, say thank you so much for coming up, but actually I don't want to continue with this thought pattern. We're going to choose again. We're going to remind ourselves that we are able to have this rest. We are able to look after ourselves. We are worthy of all of this rest. And we are worthy of living in a place where we love ourselves unconditionally. And that's what's really, really important as you go through this process. I hope that these 3 tips have given you something to think about. I would love to hear which one of these tips you are going to try. Drop a comment below and let me know. Is it your negative self-talk? Is it a positive personal conversation that you're going to have with yourself? Or is it a new routine that you're going to put in place to just remind yourself how important you are? And if you want more of this content, remember that videos come out weekly, and you can like, subscribe and hit the notification bell to make sure that you're always getting our updates. And also check out the comment below for some free training work that you can get involved with, and you can come along on this journey even more. We'll see you soon.